It is about 2 o'clock in the afternoon here on Thursday, December 11th, 2025. So we're already 1/3 of the way through December, almost halfway to Christmas. And I got an email from a guy from Oklahoma, southeast Oklahoma. I'm in northeast Texas, so we're pretty similar climate, very, very similar climate. Soil's probably similar too, depending on exactly where he's at. He didn't say exactly where he was at, but I'm not going to read the email, partially because I don't have it pulled up in front of me, and partially because I don't think it really, the details of what he said is really important. The gist of the email was that he is running a cow-calf operation. He has goatweed like I do, and he wanted kind of a follow-up on my experience with goatweed. So if you're wondering, like, here's the goatweed. I'll just break some off. That's goatweed. It's kind of all around me. Here in quote-unquote winter time, this is like autumn. A lot of people, this is like early autumn. Right now it's about 60 degrees. There's wind blowing from the south, but the goatweed's pretty much dead. I'm told that goatweed is perennial, but I don't see it. It dies every year, and I'm just left with these sticks. I did try shredding it, and I'm told that, oh, by the way, this lamb is having a hard time. There's a little bit of bottle jaw developing there. Is that one of the rams? That might be one of the rams. It could be the weather too. It's probably the weather. Anyway, sorry to get distracted. Let me get back to the shade and out of the wind. Anyway, so my experience with goatweed. Number one, I have not really found goatweed to be a problem. There are two issues that people cite with goatweed. One is that it competes with the grass for water resources, and the other is that it crowds out the grass. And I have not found either to be true. The competing with the grass stuff, so that's the extent of the root, like just a couple inches, maybe 4 inches on this one. Sometimes I've seen them deeper. But when we get a little bit of a drought, and what I mean by drought is it hasn't rained for like 4 weeks. When we get that kind of situation, the goatweed pretty much dries up. It has a really hard time. You can see their leaves start curling up, which is a sign that the plants are having a really hard time. So the goatweed just does not do well, especially competing with the Bermuda grass. And I could probably dig down and see Bermuda roots like 2 feet down. The Bermuda grass is green, the goatweed is starving. Number two, like in terms of the shade, I have found that areas with goatweed in the heat of the summer, in the middle of drought, those areas tend to have more grass. So much so that I'm pretty sure the goatweed is giving me more grass than I would otherwise have. So like, there was a couple of videos I made last year where I was trying to explain to the viewer that if I could just wave a wand and get rid of all the goatweed, you would see how much grass I had, and you would not consider the goatweed a problem at all, right? Versus other farms that didn't have goatweed and they didn't have grass either, you know. So that's kind of my experiences. I don't really find the goatweed to be a nuisance. It doesn't look nice. It's annoying when I set up the wires. I'll be honest with you. Every day I'm setting up the wires and the goatweed's in the way. And I found a couple tricks to deal with that. Nothing really ground shaking or earth shattering, you know. So in general, my philosophy towards weeds is that Mother Nature has her way of doing things. We have our own ideas on how to do things, and when those two things are in conflict, we are wrong. Okay, so we're not the experts here, right? We come to this earth, we live for a few decades. You know, as adults, we're probably only productive for 2 or 3 decades, and then after that, we're done, right? Mother Nature has been here for thousands and thousands of years, as far as we know. And at least thousands and thousands of years, and she does a pretty good job of feeding her animals. Okay, and I think that we should be learning from her rather than trying to fight with her. So the weeds are doing something. What are the weeds telling you? Well, goatweed tells me that the grass isn't as strong as it could be. Maybe it's a nitrogen deficiency. Maybe there's some other minerals that just aren't available yet. one of the things that I learned this year is I got a lot of goatweed this year. I didn't have very much last year. And what I think happened this year was the rain came when the goatweed was ready for it. Whereas last year, when the goatweed needed the rain to start growing, there was no rain. So because of the shallow root system they put down, they're really sensitive to the rain. So I'm not too concerned if the goatweed comes in strong in June. You know, that tends to be when I start seeing it pop up. May and June is when I start seeing those tiny little leaves. And then, but to me, it's not really a concern, right? Am I going to spray chemicals? No, I'm not going to spray chemicals. Am I going to put down some more seed? Probably not. There's a chance I might put some fescue down, but I probably won't put any seed down. I don't really, what's the right way to put it? I don't really see a benefit to doing that. Like, I look at the cost and the benefit. I don't really see a benefit to it. I'm open. Somebody can come and explain to me why it's in my financial interest to put seed down, but as far as I know, it's not, right? The thing that really keeps my animals, that keeps my pasture going, the reason why I'm around, and I don't like comparing myself to others. Like, I'm looking at my neighbor's pasture right now. I have a lot more goatweed than he does. I also have a lot more grass. Okay, so I guess in one sense I'm better, in one sense I'm worse. Okay. The trampling effect of the cows. So I have never seen cows trample the weeds. And I know people talk about it. I don't think I've gotten up to a tight enough grazing density to trample the weeds. So I don't really know what to say about that part of the aspect. If you want to, okay, if you're going to do the trampling thing, you have to move your animals 4 times a day, I think. And it has to be like in the middle of spring, in the spring lush, when the grass is up to your elbows. And the grass has to be super thick. I know Greg Judy has said in a couple of videos a long time ago, and he doesn't really say this much anymore. Maybe because he doesn't recommend it, or maybe because it was a one-time thing. I'm not really sure what. But he did some experiments where he had cocklebur, I believe. And I've seen cocklebur up here, or down here, I guess, because we're south of Pam. And he pushed the cows. He basically boxed them in and forced them to eat the cocklebur. Okay. I don't know if that was a net positive or what, but he claims that got rid of the cocklebur. Would that get rid of the goatweed? I don't think so. I really don't think the goatweed competes very much with the grass. There's been areas where the grass doesn't grow, but the goatweed does. But I don't think the goatweed killed the grass. I think it's just the goatweed is a pioneer weed. It goes into places where there's not a lot of grass, and it starts the process, right? And in places where I have strong grass, like where I'm standing at right now, a little bit to the north there, really thick grass. My neighbor used to keep a bunch of horses in a pen there, and when it would rain, I assumed it just washed all that manure water, onto my pasture, and I just had super thick green grass there. And one year I had no goatweed at all. This weed I had tons of goatweed, right? But I didn't notice that the grass was any less than it was in previous years. So I don't think the goatweed's affecting anything. So that's kind of my bottom line. Now, I'm gonna finish by encouraging you not to listen to me. If you catch my understanding, my drift, I started in 2021. It took me a couple of years to figure out that cows eat grass, and I'm kind of not being silly there. I thought I can give them acreage and they would eat the acreage, but cows need grass. That took me a while to figure out. So I was starting, like if this was a D&D campaign, I was starting at level -7. Most of you guys are starting at level 2 or 3. Okay, so you already know a lot about cows that I didn't know, right? My first calves were born. I asked the guy that I bought them from, I said, do cows change color when they grow up? And he laughed at me. He's like, what a silly question. I didn't know. So I was clueless. There's a tons of things that I had to learn. So that was me, 4 years ago, 3 years ago. I've learned a lot, but I don't feel like I know much more than the average rancher. And I talked with a guy, he's been ranching for 20 years now, and he feels the same way. He doesn't feel like he knows more than the average guy. There's things that he does well, there's things that he doesn't do well, and he's not really sure if he's on the right track or not. So that feeling probably won't go away. And then the second part of the caveat is you need to do your own experiments. You need to figure out what you're going to do with your cattle, your land, your animals. And if something works, keep doing it. If it doesn't work, try something else, you know. And that's the one message that I've learned studying these people that are doing regenerative agriculture is you just got to keep trying things, and you got to find something that works. And sometimes what works one year doesn't work the next year. So just, you know, have a plan, keep trying things out, and you know, eventually something's going to click. Now, in my case, I think this year and last year is when it started to really click. Like I bought a bunch of bales of hay last year. I think I bought like 90 bales of hay last year. And I ended the year with about 30 bales left over. So this year I bought 60 bales of hay, and I have fewer cows that I'm wintering. So I expect to have maybe 20 bales left at the end of the year. So that's a sign of progress. That's a sign that I'm doing something right. My cows seem to be doing better when they come out of winter than they did in previous years too. So there's more forage, there's more free food out here. Now the weather's improved. We haven't had back-to-back droughts for a while. You know, the droughts that we've had recently were very moderate, you know, versus I think 21 and 22 were just really bad droughts. I think 21 was the 150-year drought, and 22 was another bad drought, and then 23 we had another mini drought, and you know, so maybe 24 and 25 is just what it is like normal, and it wasn't me at all. It was just the rain, you know, I don't know. So anyway, that's kind of my message. That's my observations on goatweed, and I hope that's helpful to somebody. You guys have a great day. Take care, and bye-bye.